Hello and thank you for joining us. This is Kevin Newman in Ottawa. The Prime Minister met with the Governor General for more than 2 hours this morning, requesting that she shut down Parliament for a time and allow him to continue governing. On the other side, members of a coalition, an official coalition of the New Democrats and the Liberals, supported by the Bloc Québécois, were asking the Governor-General to not do that. They wanted her to allow them to defeat the government in the House of Commons on Monday in a vote of non-confidence. So if you follow that, that means that you have been following over the last couple of days a very historic situation unfolding on Parliament Hill, and today at the Governor General's residence that you see there. The Prime Minister went in about 9:30 Eastern Time this morning to meet with the Governor General to request that she shut it down. It's officially called a prorogue. So let's listen now to what the Prime Minister is saying he was told by the Governor General.
Bonjour. Suivant mon conseil, la gouverneure générale a accepté de proroger le Parlement. Vendredi dernier, j'ai demandé aux Canadiens et aux Canadiennes de nous informer de leurs opinions concernant la situation parlementaire. Leurs commentaires ont été abondants et très clairs. Les Canadiens et les Canadiennes veulent que le gouvernement du Canada continue à travailler sur l'ordre du jour pour lequel ils ont voté. Notre plan
on the mandate that they voted for.
L'économie.
Our plan.
Quand le Parlement reprendra ses travaux le 26 janvier, le premier point à l'ordre du jour sera la présentation
on the 26th,
du budget fédéral.
the first thing that we'll do is introduce a budget.
Has agreed to prorogue Parliament. Last Friday, I asked Canadians to give us their opinions on the parliamentary situation. That feedback has been overwhelming and very clear. They want Canada's government to continue to work on the agenda that Canadians voted for, our plan to strengthen the economy. When Parliament resumes on January 26th, the first order of business will be the presentation of a federal budget. Take a couple of questions.
Nous allons commencer avec Emmanuel à travers Radio-Canada.
Monsieur Harper, premièrement, est-ce que vous pouvez nous expliquer pourquoi est-ce que ça vous a pris tant de temps convaincre la gouverneure générale de vous accorder cette prorogation? Et maintenant que vous avez 6 semaines de trêve, si on veut, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire pour tendre la main à l'opposition et essayer de rétablir, si on veut, un climat politique constructif?
So while we wait for the Prime Minister to accept a question in English, the headline of the story is that the Governor General has accepted that he remains Prime Minister. The Conservatives remain in government. Parliament will be shut down, it sounds like, for about a month until the government can bring in its budget, which is now scheduled for January 27th. But again, the headline is Stephen Harper remains Prime Minister of Canada. The request from the coalition of the Liberals and New Democrats has been turned down by the Governor General. It was an unprecedented decision, a history-making decision. We will not hear from the Governor General her reasons for that. We may hear that from the Prime Minister this morning, but that would be unlikely. But for now, anyway, it looks like the constitutional crisis has been put off, but we are likely to be heading into a period over the next little while of what will seem like an extended election campaign. That now the government has a month to make its case that the coalition is, in the words of the Prime Minister, undemocratic, although others disagree that it is entirely democratic to come together in a minority parliament this way. And we will find out what happens. What could happen next is when Parliament is called back, there will have to be a new speech from the throne. There will have to be there will also have to be a budget, and then the government could be defeated at that point as well. The Prime Minister is still speaking in French at this point, so we will stand by until he answers the question in English for you. So looks like we're into, if not an official campaign over the next little while, an extended campaign, because if the coalition holds together over this next month, it's entirely possible they will bring the government down at that point, and we could be back to where we were as of this day right now. We have a number of correspondents that are standing by that we'll be talking to about the precedents that have been set here. Let's go into the Prime Minister, because it looks like he is about to prepare to answer his first question in English.
Le gouvernement reconnaît, le gouvernement a dit. Il est essentiel d'avoir des autres mesures majeures. Et c'est une occasion de travailler
heading into a period that it's a time that we can take these weeks and work on our measures. I invite the other parties of the opposition, especially the parties who have a responsibility, to tell Canada to work with us.
Et nous sommes là, nous serons là pour écouter. C'est essentiel.
I just want to mention the House of Commons, and perhaps we can show you what is happening in there right now with this announcement from the Prime Minister outside of Rideau Hall. The leader of the government in the House has just stood up in the House of Commons to inform it that the House of Commons will be officially prorogued, and I think we have a picture of the House of Commons and that occurring right now. This is Rob Nicholson. No, I guess we don't have that. My apologies for that. Let's go back to the Prime Minister then, as he continues to answer his first question in French.
Continue with Rosemary Thompson, CTV.
Prime Minister, I want to ask you whether you think you made a mistake last week when you thought you might be able to pull the public financing of the opposition parties that would have potentially destroyed them, and whether you regret that, and how you're going to reach out to them now and try and rebuild a sense of trust that they say is non-existent.
Well, let me just say this. First of all, on that particular issue, the government brought forward an issue that it believes in strongly. We believe that in a time of economic restraint, when we are asking all Canadians to tighten their belts, we believe that political parties should lead by example. The proposal we made involved us taking the biggest reduction of anyone in a particular policy that the public has never supported. Now, I'll just review the facts of that. The opposition immediately expressed their complete opposition and outrage. The day after we announced the policy, we indicated we were not proceeding with it immediately. The day after that, we indicated that rather than eliminate the allowance for now, we will simply freeze it. So I think we addressed their concerns on that allowance within 2 days, completely. And they have said repeatedly that that's not the issue. They said repeatedly that the issue is they wanted an economic stimulus package quickly. I think we have to do some trust building here on both sides. I think everybody knows a government that has only sat in Parliament for 2 weeks and that hasn't done pre-budget consultations with anyone can't go out and announce a comprehensive economic budgetary plan without talking to anybody and without making sure we actually know what we're talking about, that officials have approved all the programs, that we know they will work and be effective, and that we have consulted the relevant stakeholders. You know, we are planning here the quickest federal budget in history. The quickest federal budget in history. I don't believe the opposition parties, I'm not saying they're insincere, but I don't think they, at their best efforts, could produce a budget any quicker than this. In fact, I think if ultimately they had to follow their own efforts, we will see the budget a lot later than January the 26th. So I would simply encourage them to engage with the government. And I'll repeat what I just said in French. There are 4 parties and 2 independents elected to the House of Commons. All of those men and women were elected to represent the interests and perspectives of their electors in their ridings. But there are 3 parties who were also elected to represent the interests of Canada as a whole. And those parties should make an effort to work together. That's where you have to have cooperation in the interests of the country. The government is more than willing to have that kind of dialogue with the other parties. I want to hear their specific suggestions. If they wanted an economic stimulus package even quicker than January 26th, I presume they'd be ready to give it to us in some detail, but we're prepared to wait and prepared to dialogue with them on the measures. Because we should try and have some consensus if we can. We may not be able to agree on everything. That's the nature of a minority parliament. but we certainly will try and find some consensus. As I think we've ultimately have on a couple of other